Welcome to the show. I'm Danella, and here's what's happening now. We made it through the worst move of my life, and then life really got hard. But right now, let's get into political pop. So, it's all about Comey and all right, you gotta let me have that one. Yeah, James Comey. Now, if you were able to watch it yesterday, you were like me, like, oh my gosh. Now, I know, you've probably heard transcripts already. This is what I really want to talk about. So I'm watching it, and, several of the Republicans, all of them basically kept kind of saying to Comey, I mean, in your own words, you said the president said, I hope. So, he didn't outright tell you to do something, I hope you drop this. All right, let's really talk about what that means. If your parent calls you and says, hey, I'm pulling up to the driveway right now, I'm walking in the door, I hope you have your homework done. What does that mean? What does that really mean? I hope you got your room clean, I'm coming up in there. What does that mean? Or if you're on the street, somebody owes you money, I hope you have my money. I think Rihanna said it best with, B better have my money. That's what it means, man. It's an outright threat, period. If your parent was like my mom, I hope you have your homework done, means if you don't have your homework done, I'm going to beat that tail. That's what it meant in my house. And so for everybody to kind of keep saying that he didn't say it, it doesn't really sound that way. Why didn't you say anything to anybody? Well, I learned something very valuable by watching the hearings. And that was CYB, right? Cover your butt. That's what he did. He said, that didn't feel right. He kicked everybody out. He kicked everybody out of the room and then said to me, I hope you drop this. Sounds kind of like a threat. And so what did he do? He started taking notes. And pay attention. If you at work and you got somebody doing some craziness, write it down. Memorialize it. You never know when you're going to need those notes. That is 101. Take notes, write it down, make it official. And the other thing he did was pass it around. And what I love that he said, I wanted to make sure that I didn't have it classified. That way, in case y'all need to know what happened, you could know. So yeah, I was glad watching those hearings. I was like, oh, that's the master CYB, the master cover your butt, cover your tail. Let people know what's going on. So that's your political pop. We all know a lot of things are coming out. And the big question that I'm going to keep asking is, now what? Because I feel like we keep hearing the same thing over and over. Russia influenced the elections. Russia hacked the elections. Now what? What are we going to do? So in the upcoming show, I'm going to get some people on here so we can talk about what do we do now, next steps, besides, writing your congressman, writing, everybody you could possibly write and say, we demand this and that. And the worst part about it is, while we're kind of in limbo with everything that's going on, it's like everything just keeps getting worse, right? Like you're hearing all these bills getting passed and all this just craziness happening. And it's life. Like I keep hoping to wake up and this just is a movie, but it's not. It's real life. So yeah, that's political pop. I'm going to keep watching it. So let's get to this move of life. So we finally get through this move. Man, I know it's been like a month, basically, probably a little over a month since we've last seen each other. I want to apologize for that, but I promise it's for good reason. Like I said, the move was crazy. And as soon as we get settled from the move, that's when life hit me really hard. I lost a very close family friend of mine. I'm not sure if you were able to follow it on the news a couple months back in April. Corporal Stephen Ballard, state trooper in Delaware, was shot and killed in the line of duty. And a very, 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 very close friend of mine. I can't add enough berries in that. It was really, really difficult. And I want to talk to you about it because just the experience, really the days after, has completely changed me forever. First, I want to say that, I get the call and I'm immediately just in the car heading up to Delaware. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that it's not good. I hear that, he's been shot, and right now they're trying to get his family to the area. And so we already know that it's bad. Um, and so, man, I had never, first off, been surrounded by that many officers in my life, okay? Ever. And I want to take a step back for a minute and talk to you about how I initially viewed officers. Okay. So remember in a previous show, I told you that I have friends and family on both sides of the law. Remember I told you that? Yes, some of them are working, for the law, and some of them are secretly working against the law. So even with that being said, and even having family members and friends that, men and women in blue, I honestly had a very complicated relationship. I don't know if you're like me. I'm gonna be honest. Anytime I would see a police officer, I wouldn't feel safe. And I grew up in the 80s where we were told officer friendly. And I remember officers came into our schools and they would talk to us and they were called officer friendly, and they would be really nice, your neighborhood friendly officer. And then as I got older, when I had several family members killed, I mean friends too. And like I said, I'm from DC, and if you're from any city, it's common to especially major city, it's common to experience loss in that way. And so it was really hard for me losing my family and friends, and then those crimes never being solved. But then seeing, and this is just my personal experience, then seeing even myself, being pulled over for something silly, and I'm just like, I have relatives that crimes are unsolved, and you're pulling me over telling me that you can't see my tags when my tags are clearly visible. Really? On Christmas Eve? I don't understand what's happening. And that's minor. That's so petty from other things that I hear from my friends, see on the news, know for myself. I know that that's petty. And so I always kind of just felt uneasy around officers prior to this, very uneasy. And man, so let's just get back to this. My friend dies, and I'm up there immediately, and I'm just there for the whole process of it. And I have never in my life seen the outpour of love that we received immediately. And it was first from the officers, because I get up and the house is surrounded, because it was, just to give you a little backdrop, if you're unfamiliar, Stephen approached a car in the Wawa parking lot, and it's funny because he really loved Wawa, so it's crazy, that he actually gets shot at the Wawa. But yeah, man, he sees a suspicious car, and then that's where he gets shot. So the driver of the car stays on the scene, and the passenger leaves. Well, the passenger then, goes home, and there's like a standoff between him and police from all over the region, from Delaware, I think also DC or Maryland, and then Pennsylvania as well. Everybody's on the scene to try and, get this guy. So yeah, it just ends with the original shooter, being shot, because I think the standoff was at least 20 hours. I remember we got up around 9 in the morning the next day, like up as in out of the house, and it was still an active scene. So it was just crazy. So with that happening, obviously there's going to be a lot of troopers around. So when we first walk in, it feels like I'm by myself, but we're all together in spirit. But I first walk in and I see an officer playing with Stephen's daughter. And she's just relaxed and calm, and so it's like, crazy that there's also this great mourning in your heart, but when you're around children, there's just this great love that's happening. And so yeah, there are all these officers around us, and the one thing I was grateful for is every time that we traveled with the family, they placed a trooper with us that knew Stephen, And so it was amazing. It wasn't like this was a job for them, helping the family transition. It was, we are all family. And when I say that I experienced that from the state troopers, it went further than that. I was getting messages from, officers in other areas that had heard the news, because Stephen was also involved in Noble, and that's the national organization for Black law enforcement executives. And he was a proud, active member of Noble. And so that was a huge loss for them as well. And so when I started, just, we're out day in, day out traveling to places. So, it's just a lot of business that has to get done when someone passes, which is hard because it doesn't really allow you to fully, um, process. I mean, you know what I'm saying? When you have to do the business of it, it's hard for you to even process the emotional aspect of losing your friend. So just let me go back to these officers for a minute. So what was great was seeing them as people, hearing their stories, hearing a lot of what they go through, and seeing that even for myself, I just didn't have any empathy. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I really had empathy for officers. And it's hard to now. I mean, and let's be clear, yes, there's a lot of corruption in the world, and yes, there's a lot of negative things that are going on. But I realized that I was grouping all of the officers like in one bubble, which is the bubble of I can't trust you outside of my friends or people. I worked in news, so we worked with officers a lot. And so, I felt like it was kind of just, okay, if I knew you, then it was okay. But for the most, it's all this way. And this experience has taught me that, you know, that's just not the right way to look at it. And this is why I don't want to make you guys frustrated, but this is why I say it's not the right way to look at it. Because think about how a lot of people look at Black people, people that are racist against Black people. They all group us in a box and say, we're all this way, we're all that way. And I realized I was doing the same thing, because I don't know what it's like every day to leave my house and might not come back. I don't know what that's like. I don't know what it's like to put on a uniform and then have people that look like me hate me, and people that dress like me in the same uniform hate me because I don't look like them. And those are some of the stories that I heard as well. So it forever changed me. But just to see how someone passing, untimely. I mean, Stephen was so young, so young. But, you know, everybody came together, and that's what we should be doing as a whole. And it wasn't just the officers. I'm going to take a break from that for a second. And I want to talk about the community. And we were transporting every time, when an officer passes. I didn't know this, but when an officer passes, or I guess that's similar to a dignitary, anywhere you transport the body is a procession, meaning the family's there, all the officers from all over are there to escort the body to where it needs to go. It's crazy that it was like, whew, sorry, got to calm myself down, but it was really hard. And so, so every time that we're doing this procession, this one time in particular, we were taking the body from the morgue to the funeral home. And the funeral home in Delaware was at the Congo Funeral Home. So if you're in Delaware, you know where the Congo Funeral Home is. If you're not, I could say, it's in the hood. And shouts out to them. They are amazing. But I say that to say that as we're, we take the body in, we come out. And anyway, we are walking to the car. There's all the neighborhood is out. All the neighborhood is out, And I remember this one woman like saying to me, like, is it all right if I hug you? And I was like, what? And I needed a hug, man. And so she hugged me. And as she hugged me, and this is just, this is just a sister who was at home that came out just to see everybody, and she said, I want you to know it's going to get better. She didn't even know who I was. Who anybody was, but she just saw like, oh, somebody's hurting. So she said, I just want you to know it's going to get better. And she talked to me about losing her son. Her own son was murdered a year ago. And here she is like trying to comfort me. And that's what we saw over and over for just the whole family. Was it wasn't just that there were the troopers, but the whole community came together. And it's sad that we aren't seeing this kind of outpour all the time. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it was amazing to me because I've been from television. I've been around, millionaires, billionaires, people with a little bit of money, people with a lot of money. And I saw what I like to call thousandaires. If you make at least $1,000, you are a thousandaire. So I saw thousandaires coming out and just giving everything that they can give, whether it be a hug, whether it be food, whether it be, I saw so many people give gifts to Abigail. I mean, she had just turned 5, a couple of weeks prior to him passing. And everybody, I mean, just coming out everywhere that we went, tons of memorial services to say, this isn't right and we have to support one another. And so if you're anybody that's watching the show and you participated, I just want to thank you for supporting the family. This has been really, really difficult to say the least, but to be surrounded by so much love all the time just made it unlike anything I've ever experienced. And the reason I'm sharing this right now with you is, one, I know some of us are going through loss, and some of us are supporting people that are going through loss. And that's why I want to talk to you to just say that it means so much just to be there, to just say, oh, I made you some food, or hey, here is some croissants. Whatever you need, we're here for you. And I know, this meant the world. Stephen's wife is, my very close friend. She's my son's godmother. And man, to see everybody come out and support her, and this is not her first time dealing with loss in this way, but this is the first time in which she received the outpour. I mean, none of us have experienced anything like this. And so that's why I want to share it. One, to just thank all of the officers that came out. I believe officers came out from 35 states. And I even saw Montgomery. I'm from Maryland, right? So I saw Montgomery County in Maryland, Prince George's County. I saw K-9 units. Just everybody from everywhere just came out and was just very supportive. And I want to just say to you watching now, like, we can still be this way to each other. It shouldn't be, a tragedy happens, then we're this way. I feel like if you have that ability on even just the small scale, and I'm telling you about the woman that hugged me, but man, you see, I'm coming to tears over that woman. Sorry. Whew. But it's like, even in that moment, it changed my life, Um, yeah. So just changed my life into saying that we just have the ability to help one another in just the smallest way to make such a great impact. So it changed, the passing of my friend Steven, man. It changed my life in a lot of ways. It changed my life because now I look at officers as individuals, right? And I see them in a very different way, especially officers of color, because they face, adversity that we can never, unless you put on that suit and you go out into the world, we're never going to know what it's like. I know what I've heard now from countless stories, and I'm actually later in an upcoming show. I just need to get, a little bit stronger. You see, I'm a little still emotional, and it's later, but I want to get a little bit stronger. But I have an officer that I'm going to bring in and just talk about what it's like to put on that uniform and what it's like to have people hate you because you have on the uniform and hate you because you are a color, a brown color in the uniform. So we're going to talk about that in an upcoming show. But I wanted to talk about just how they are individuals and how at the end of the day, if you're like Stephen, a lot of them are. They are. Stephen was somebody who didn't want to lock people up. He was somebody who definitely felt that his job in putting on that uniform was to make his community better, and that's what he wanted to do. He wanted ultimately to have a larger role in the community that he lived in, but he saw law enforcement as his way in to make a change in the world that he lived in. And So one, I just wanted to say that, like, they're individuals, and it really means something now to say thank you for your service, man. Thank you for risking your life every day. It's a thankless job, and I'm just going to say thank you now. But then for the community, if you're watching a show and you might have been someone in Delaware or in a surrounding area that just came up to support the family, let me just say thank you. Thank you for your love, your support. Thank you. And if you're watching the show and you're like, man, I don't even know any of these people involved. I don't know. I want to talk to you right now and just say that if you are going through a loss right now, if you are someone that's supporting someone going through a loss right now, I'll let you know I'm praying for you. I am right now. And as a community, and I've seen it with my own eyes, as a community, we can help each other be better by just being there. That's easy. That's the easy part. Really. That's really the easy part. But has really shown me that it can be the most profound part, is how you just being there. I saw countless neighbors just knock at the door. Hey, just let me know if there's anything you need. Need your grass cut? I'll cut it. Just easy things, just anything you need. So yeah, man, sorry I've been out of the mix for a while. I appreciate you coming back and checking on the show. Yeah, we're back in the swing of things. It's been a huge transition, because even through all of that, it's just so much life is just happening. So yeah, thank you for being patient with me again. I'm sorry I was out of the mix. I had to get myself together, get myself strong so I can come back and keep giving you everything that I can give you. The news, the world, it all. So I will see you next week. And I mean it. I'll see you next week.